Hello, hello everyone. I see the chat. Hi. Hi, Chris. Hi, Chris. Hello, Chris. All right. I guess we're ready to go ahead and jump right in, right? Yeah, I feel like we're ready to start right on time. We're going to respect everybody who showed up on time, right? So, thank you and a big welcome to everyone who's shown up to our first webinar for this MODE series. And that name is an acronym. It's for Math Observations in Deaf Education. And so we just say MODE. But that's a math term too, remember? And statistics. So there you go. It definitely fits. Yeah, it's perfect. So great. So my name is Dawn Kidd, excuse me, and I'm a middle school math teacher in Texas, in the School for the Deaf. And I have light skin. I'm a light skinned woman, and I have a brown and gray hair with a black t-shirt on and a black background. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining today. We have, how many participants do we have? Wow, 221. Wow. So 221. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Everybody's packing in, right? So I guess you've all been teaching all day, right? You've been busy teaching all day and you still signed in with us. I'm so proud. Wow. So I want to give you a little bit of background information about how, before we start our discussion. This webinar is supported by the Deaf Tech program. The Deaf Tech is supported by the National Institute of Technology Services in that foundation. And we have an advanced technology education program at NTID, and that's where it's housed. So, and NTID has also established RIT as well. I'm sure that you're familiar with that. RIT. So NTID is one of the colleges that's going to be involved with the RIT program. So the goal for the Deaf Tech today is for us to really pull in more of deaf and hard of hearing students in our STEM programs, okay? And the center's resources, like, that we can provide the resources for all of them to, encourage the deaf and hard of hearing students to be involved with STEM programs. Also, we're managing this webinar with a few points in mind. Now, we do have closed captions. So what you can do, you can just turn them on by clicking the CC symbol at the bottom of your screen, right there. Click that, and you can change the size of the lettering so it's easier to see. Also on your screen, you can change whether you see the presenter in the PowerPoint sliding how much of each you see. You can also use like a slide. You see the sliding feature in the middle. Later on, we will use a Q&A portion for part of our time. So please get involved with that. Anytime that you think of something, you know, if you have a question, go ahead and throw it in the Q&A right away. And we will hold your questions until the last about 15, 20 minutes of the webinar, but we're going to try to answer some of them, hopefully all of them, but we'll see. Also, during this meeting today, we'll have polls. So please feel free to be involved with the polls, and we will see the results on the screen. Everybody will. And I would like to, before we start, say thank you to our interpreters. We have Chris and Kaborski, and we have captions by Dawn. And we have people who have worked very hard behind the scenes. We have Donna, and we have Maureen and Mike. So thank you very much for everyone who's been supportive and making this happen. At this time, we'd like to just get everybody settled in and get ready for our discussion. Let's go ahead and get our ideas ready to share. The three of us are here on screen right now, but it's not that we're the experts. You know, we want to share our ideas with you, but we hope that we can also pull some ideas from you as well, and we can all learn from each other that way. I mean, a math educator. Now that is it, when you pair that with deaf education, it's a really specific group of people. And we're a small group of people, but we are very powerful. Okay, so great. And we know this. There we go. I just want to ask for all the teachers to go ahead here to introduce themselves. So go for it. Who's first? You first. No, she said you. Okay, I'm Nancy McAllis, and I'm a woman with light skin. I have a gray, longer sleeve, 3/4 sleeve shirt, red hair, I have a blue background, and I teach 2nd grade math and the School for the Deaf. And I have been in school services from K-12 arena for a total of many years. And I have a small group. This is small, about 3 students right now, but I'm teaching them in all different modes. And so I'm really curious to see what kind of ideas you have, what you're bringing to the table as well. Okay, hi, and I'm Laura Metcalf, and I work with the Atlanta area School for the Deaf. And it's a day school. So we only have deaf students. So right now we have something that's called a math coach. And that's something that I've figured out. I'm still teaching with some classes, of course, but I'm also doing that group as well. That's one of the things that I've had, you know, as special assistants to teach them, and it goes K through 12. So I could get all levels being in that capacity. So I'll teach you a variety of subjects, but I really appreciate having this opportunity to talk with everybody and get ideas about deaf education and math. This is really nice. Yes, we definitely need to get together more often, you know, with more math educators as well. Yeah, I definitely can't forget, I forgot to take the time to explain that I'm a white woman with brown hair and a dark blue shirt that's about 3/4 sleeves. And I have a white background with 2 whiteboards like right behind my head. Okay. All right. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Nancy. I'm so appreciative that you joined with us and take the time to be with us. Brave people. So, we can't we can't just say we're math educators. We're math educators and deaf educators. So. And with Deaf Tech at the conference that we had, I really enjoyed that. I did come to that as well. Yeah, in San Antonio and Austin, that's, you know, obviously now that's not something that's happening, but it will happen again later post-COVID, but we'll get through it, right? So, okay, so we have time for the polls now. All right.
We have our audience, so we're ready for the poll.
Oh, can't wait to see the results. Oh, wow, a lot of hybrid here. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay.
There are a lot of people hybrid.
Oh, yes. And also synchronous. And I noticed that's something that we weren't expecting those kinds of results, right? And this is
That's
interesting.
true.
Um, and yeah, I am in people that I haven't taught before March 2020. I'm in that group of people as well. Trust me, we all had to learn on the go and just jump out in the dark, just trying to figure it out. And and it was really a rush right as that time hit to try to figure out what we're going to do. And then by the time fall came, we're like trying to find so many new resources so that we can do things better. So I thought that was interesting.
Definitely, yes.
I really wish that we had this meeting like in the fall instead of the spring. We only have like 3 months left, but hopefully we'll get back to in person. Like that would be great. But if that isn't our experience, I mean, honestly, after this, I imagine that education will change in the long run.
And I think many things that we've learned along the way doing this, we'll be able to use no matter if COVID is
Yeah.
happening or not. We'll still be able to use in the future. I think there are a few things that we may only use remote, but there are other things that I think we continue to utilize as we go on.
I know with the pandemic, everybody's trying to find, they're finding like many benefits to the way we're teaching
Yes,
and doing things now. I mean, like we're getting a different perspective, so we can definitely take advantage of that. Yeah, we can learn from this for sure. And we still have 3 months. So, I'm an eighth grade teacher, and I know springtime is always it doesn't matter like what happens, like because there's it's tough. They're just so ready to get out. They're ready to go to high school. So I have to keep encouraging them and keep them like interested and
yes,
engaged.
yes,
That's pretty
yes. I'm wondering with the two of you, if you guys, with your in-person or remote, with the hybrid, what are you two doing at this point?
Yeah, I'm like this just recent spring, I'm doing all remote. And in the fall, we will see. It looks like we'll be like half the students will be in the class, and I'll be teaching them, well, I won't be in class, I'll be teaching them remote, excuse me. So I don't know, like we're doing a little bit of both, but
And you've
that's,
been doing that since the fall, right?
I
Oh,
can't,
what happened to Nancy?
uh-oh.
Workshop's over.
Oh, bye, Nancy. See
See
you
you
later. Okay.
later.
Okay. Oh, there we
Oh,
go. Back. I don't know how I turned. I don't know what happened. I just lost my video. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so there's like the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, we went back to full remote, and we've been there ever since. So I'm really
fascinating.
excited to be able to get back in person in 2 weeks. On the 15th, we should be able to go back in person. I cannot wait.
I really want that, in-person experience that we had. Having the remote experience is
Uh,
interesting, but you miss the in-person.
yes, and the synchronous and the remote and asynchronous. It's like you jump between all three. And I know right now that I'm teaching remote with the company I work with, but in spring break, we'll come back to campus, and we're only going to be on campus less than 50% of the students will be there on that campus experience. So, it's going to be more of a hybrid model, and we're going to try. We're going to try. We'll see. I expect to see what happens with that. Uh, Laura, could you tell us about your experience?
Sorry, my screen froze for a second. The students are still remote and have been since March. This week is the first time that the staff is back on campus in the building. So mostly. And next week, the elementary will be back. In 2 weeks, the middle school will be back. In 3 weeks, the high school will be back. So we're slowly transitioning back to on campus, but we are keeping the remote and hybrid at the same time. So each of us have a division of 4 and 4 when we're doing with teaching with kids.
So it seems like, we're actually following the results of the poll. It seems like most of us are in that hybrid situation, and,
Yes.
so that answers some of our questions already. So The other question was for Laura and Nancy. Let's see. Okay, and I'll let you read this. We would like to see if, we want to give everybody enough time to read. I hate it when people start signing whenever we're reading. Like, give me a sec. All right, let's go
Yep,
ahead.
you're
Let's
good.
let the audience read, and then we'll answer this question. All right, so whether you're remote or in person or hybrid, Laura and Nancy, would you have any possible helps for a physical setup as far as like how you orient yourself in your working space and with the devices used? Do you have any ideas?
Um, I think probably I've been using one screen, and so that's been something trying to figure out. And also I like at the beginning that we bought a webcam, and that was separate. So my bigger screen, the webcam is connected to the bigger monitor, and then my laptop has the camera as well, but that's smaller. So I like the ability to be able to see on a larger screen or larger monitor when I'm signing, and I can see what is happening in front of me. And it also helps with the students with Zoom or with other apps that we're using, that I can bring my camera away from my screen and show them, look, this is what we're doing, this is that. I know there are other websites that you can do that, but with not having the webcam wouldn't work that way. So having the webcam, I can just connect it and show it, physically move it to show what I'm doing and to be able to example what I'm doing.
Yes, and I have to say I've got a similar setup. Like if I'm wanting to look at a website or an app and then I'm trying to explain what it looks like and try to, and, just to give them a description of it. But like if how to access the materials through the app or the website or whatnot, and I'm just sitting here and I'm just talking about it in my virtual room and they're all around me and we can kind of see each other. So we have like the course, the half circle setup, and I'm teaching at the same time and my laptop is in front of me and that's what I teach from, so I can look down, I can look past my laptop to the students, so my gaze can easily go back and forth, and I found that to be the best.
The students are in the classroom themselves with the
No,
webcam, with the
no, I'm
laptop.
sorry, I turned the laptop down. It's just awkward if I'm in the room and I have to look at them, but and look at the laptop, excuse me. So if they're looking at me, I'm not going to use the laptop. But if like those students that are remote, and then so that they can go back and
Oh,
forth
I
with
see.
recording and the interpreters and whatnot. So it's not something I can do synchronous usually without some awkwardness.
Yeah, I think pretty soon you're going to be able to use that skill very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And also, Laura, it was like with the two laptops that you said you have, like, do you maybe have an iPad? I'm a little spoiled with the, using iPad, but I think it's the best thing ever to have this Apple Pencil. I love having the Apple Pencil, and I wouldn't sell it for anything. But I mean, it was a gift. It was a gift for Christmas, and wow, what a game changer! I didn't know. I mean, that's how I'm able to write and just put all of my thoughts on the iPad and make it very seamless for the students to see my process as it comes out on screen. And it helps us when we're solving problems together. And so I just really love that.
Yeah, I bought a separate mouse that I'm still a little awkward with. I'm still trying with the pen, but I'm improving. It's getting better.
Well, Zoom also has a feature where you can share the screen with the iPad. So that's really cool. I use my iPad and I use my Apple Pencil. And so it's synced with my Zoom meeting. And that way I feel like I'm getting more of a linguistic equivalent for them to just be able to see it instead. We have the whiteboard too, but this is nice.
And I think the with the elementary classes, when you go in with the younger students, having the whiteboard. So I do have this that I
Mm-hmm.
use with them. My school is very lucky that we're a very small school. So we had the whiteboards that the students were able to take home and use on their own. And some of the elementary students have figured things out in what we're using. We have different things that we're using. We've sent home to the students the materials for them to be able to interact with us. And again, specifically with the younger students, so they can do actual hands-on work because they're sitting at home in front of a screen.
You know, and on my whiteboard, we have a wipeout book, and that is, we sold that. It's kind of a flimsy book. They sell it's really cheap. You know, they'll ship a whole bunch of them, but it's really cool. Like you can just like write whatever you want on it. You can put the answers up,
Yes.
and then everybody flash their answers. So it's neat.
And also I like, as I said, when I introduced myself, I have the whiteboard behind me. And for the classroom, I thought it would be good to use at home, not so much, but for the classroom, it really is very nice to have, because then we can set the boards up and the students are able to see them as panels as they go across, so they can see the process and everyone has a chance to look at them while we're working on it. And again, it's really nice to have the whiteboard behind us so that I can use that as a demonstration.
Yes, and you know, I feel like I feel the same as Laura on this note. Especially, I mean, we send a couple of things home with the students because they're going to be, especially ones that are staying home. We have the books, the practice workbooks, and whatnot. But we ask them also to collect a couple of things in their home that are just simple aids, especially for eighth grade math. It would just be nice to have them, like if they have like the different tools. I'll try to give you an example. Like, so the box, even having like the simple box or the cylinder with the salt shaker. So the measurements for the geometry, and so how they can have the tape measure or the actual measurement stick, and that way they can figure out their problems based on more real life objects, and it's more involved for them.
Yeah, it's the same as what, when the elementary teachers, when we ask them what they do with their students and how they are understanding the numbers, we tell them, the parents, that, there's the family that you get
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
benefit from all of these little things that we're learning along the way about counting and about using the materials that we have. So we suggested to them, so maybe that's something the families, we could talk about them using. That's a great idea.
Oh yeah, sometimes we have to be careful. They may not always have the things around the house. Some things they have, some things they don't have. So we just
Yeah.
try to keep it flexible and try to be balanced about things we ask for. Definitely. Yeah, sure. Okay, thanks. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the next question. All right. Can we answer some of the Q&A? Are we gonna answer the Q&A right now or waiting? Not yet, not yet. We're waiting on to the end for the Q&A. I know, it's like
So we're
trying to figure
asking everyone to be patient.
out. So, Laura and Nancy, we're gonna let all our audience read this.
Sure, we're ready. Go ahead, Dawn.
Okay. All right. So many people are curious about this. When they registered for this webinar in particular, we were thinking about some questions that are on people's top of mind. So we wanted to, how do you get the attention of the student? How do you keep them, enwrapped in what's going on the screen, whether you're in person or you're remote, like in general? What visual cues do you use to make sure you keep their attention throughout the lesson? Make a list of, I
Make
plug
the
things.
lesson fun
Go ahead. Sorry.
and making sure that you're keeping them engaged, and make sure that we have, if we're talking about something, we have things set up and we have visually, we can see everything. If we're talking about 1 to 5, we have to talk about, what is the difference 1 to 5, and really trying to make it fun. And also using non-math related things, shoes or food or whatever else we can talk about, and then put it into the mathematical equations so that they can see that. Maybe we're talking about ranking, what do you like? What is the most important to you? What do you really enjoy? And having those conversations and giving the students time to engage in the lesson, and make sure that we leave some time for them to have fun so that students can enjoy it. But I also noticed that when we respond to their math processes as they're going along, and we're using the whiteboard chat to see what's going on, I can get in and respond, or we can fix the problem and equation that they're working on, and they can recognize immediate feedback. And that keeps them very involved. In the beginning, I was responding to the whiteboard white chat later on, and the students were getting lost, they weren't paying attention, and there was a loss of motivation. So I had to remind myself that this is something that I could use to keep them engaged.
Yeah, I think I've had the same experience. Like as far as keeping the students involved, they had to keep them, they have to have hands-on tasks. They can't just be watching me lecture. But that's the best way to keep their attention. I completely agree. There are some apps that have built-in like aids, like if you're back to Zoom, like if there's some kind of activities, you're working on some activities, but then it'll pause you and redirect you back to Zoom. So it kind of it's like, I mean, if you don't have two screens, then you have to look at the one screen and also look at Zoom. You have to monitor both. Otherwise, it'd be kind of hard to just jump back to Zoom. But as far as the projects that we're working in, we can pause and just kind of call their attention back. And that I've noticed that that's really worked with some of the students. Like, hey, I'm over here. I'm trying to have flashers and trying to get their attention on Zoom. And, like that's the best I can do.
Yeah. Use paper in front of the camera, trying to get someone's attention. Sometimes the kids do whatever they can to try and get them to pay attention.
Yeah, sometimes the kids will text each other like, "Hey, dude, pay attention." Like, and it works.
Yes. I love that. Yes.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. So the flashing on the
It's an
app.
app. It's an app actually that I have, and it's a flashing app, and you can, if you just bounce it, it will make it flash black and white, and it kind of gets your attention. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think, as far as like, teaching the deaf in general, attention is key. Like Laura's saying, that we have we could have one device that might work out for us, and that's great. We have one, but then if you're working, it just depends. It just depends on if you're on an app or what kind of resources you're actually working with, and if you can put panels in front of panels, like with the windows, or you don't want to move around too much and then they kind of get lost, they don't know where we're at. So just like set up some kind of check-in time, maybe like, hey, by 9 o'clock I want to check in. Hey, come back to the main room, I want to see your face, want to see, catch a pulse, you're good, you need some help. I mean, especially if you have them in breakout rooms or something like that. And I feel like there's more like of a connection with them, so so they can work through those different windows with you.
We teach in a block schedule, so it's a 90-minute time, and the kids need to have time for break, and that's fine. So once they finish their work, we let them have their time that they need.
I agree. Yeah. I like that. I feel like often with the breakout rooms, like I understand it for like a couple things, like for work, pairing them with a partner, but also it's a good time for them to like chill out and chat without the teacher. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Sometimes we just need to let them be kids.
yeah, it's important for sure. Well, thank you so much for your responses. And I would like to move on back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So now, audience, I'll let you read this first, okay? Okay, so audience, I would like to get your responses. What are your favorite apps? What are your favorite websites? We want to discuss some of them after, but we want to see what you guys are currently using in your inventory. And we'll look at the Q&A. Oh, and if you need to vote, like if you want to see, if you see something, oh yeah, that's an app that I like, you can actually add a comment under that person, what that person has said, and then you can put it there for a thumbs up. Okay, I love that one. The Cami, excuse me, the Cami. That one's good. Um, wow, there are so many good ideas in here. I'm still scrolling, guys.
I'm trying really hard to watch as everything's going by.
All right, are you gonna read them all?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just skimming.
Cami really is very cool. It's a Google extension where you can upload a PDF file and then you can attach it through Google Classroom. And the students will get that. They can write on it, they can type on it, or they can even touch it to do a video screen so that they can sign their answers back. They can send it back to us, and then you can get your you can get your responses by either signing or typing back. There's a paid fee for that to get the upgraded version of it, but it's not horribly expensive. It's fairly manageable financial wise.
Oh yes, and they can be. I know that I noticed a lot of people suggest that, but because it has a fee, then people tend to look for something else, or
I
they.
haven't used that yet.
Mhm. Yes, and so I was I was sent something similar. I think it was included on the list actually. It's called the whiteboard.
Chat.
Yes, thank you. And I was it's with Jamboard. I think you can use it in addition to Jamboard. And so I like that because then I can make up more groups on the boards. And so, or I can make it individual. So each person would have their own board in theory or work in a group and they'll have their own space. And then so I can giving them all that opportunity to work together on a board space. And then I can add my signs, they can add their signs. And so at the same time they're presenting with what they've done on their board, and we can get a PDF of what they developed, with the exact question and background, what they answered and worked and collaborated together to get, and I can give them feedback immediately, and so that's really nice.
I use a similar thing called whiteboard.fi,
Oh, I've
and
seen that one.
that's you can't give the immediate feedback on it. But I saw one of the comments that said, "What with the whiteboard chat?" I just looked at that. That's so much better. I really like that.
Oh yes, and they keep adding features to the teachers because teachers have given them feedback, and they add it once we tell them we want something. They add it. I like that. It's becoming a little bit overwhelming because it's not something you can just take a few minutes to play around with. Now they have so many features, but when you have a minute, you can pick it up pretty fast. So it's one of my favorites.
Laura, Laura, you mentioned about freezing and pausing during activities. Does Desmos do that?
Yes, with whiteboard chat I do, but I believe it's called snowing. Like you can click the snowing feature and you can see like what this you can tell the students, oh, they see that, oh, time to come back, or um you can put like your video on in the whiteboard chat, and that will call the students back, take over the screen. But it's okay. It's for a short, like, get your attention, hey, time to come back to Zoom kind of thing.
Can you use that at the same time that you're using the other app?
I haven't played around with that part.
I wonder about that.
Yeah, I was wondering sometimes with the ILR, um, oh, IRL, excuse me, that one. I know I have one girl that she has, she wants to sign something, for instance, and I want to sign back to her. So it's like we can have a conversation with both responding. But if she is video off in Zoom, she's not signed out. You like if or I have to sign out completely onto the other computer in order to give the response if I'm using that medium. So I can't do it both at the same time. So most of the time you just have to juggle that with the technology. But I do believe that there's a lot of people in the Q&A. Wow, you guys have some great apps and ideas. And people have asked if, the list can be, provided to everybody else. And I say, yes, after we close this webinar, definitely we will get a copy of it and it'll generate it'll populate a report, and then once we get that, then we'll be able to send that out in a summary type version and out to everybody who registered. And we're going to go back to the PowerPoint really quick. There are various apps and websites also listed here. Uh-oh. Sorry. Here we go.
Yeah, a lot of those are what
Okay.
you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. And GeoGebra, yeah, I've used that one before. GeoGebra, wow, that's a good one. Great animation in that one. I mean, it's so clear the way they.
Yes, we're using that more and more this year while we're teaching geometry. So that is really a good one to use. It's really helped. Some of the apps within the curriculum we use that are already installed and they're already part of the curriculum that we found. And those are the ones that we're going to.
It's nice they have the activities and assignments like already loaded. Oh yeah, I mean like with 3D geometry shapes too, like
Yes, and being able to see all the
oh,
way around in the perspectives.
you can even open it up. And so I know with the new like graphic stories as well, graphing stories. I don't know if you've used that. I mean there's a short video or something like of someone like coming down a slide, right? And and there's just a variety of like short stories and they're like 30 seconds, right? 30 seconds, no captions, no talking. It's just watching an animation, just a clip. And then ask the student to write a graphing story to
Yeah.
match what they just saw.
Yeah,
And
I've seen that before. I think Desmos does that as well. And the bottom, the one at the learning center, I think there are a multitude that you can use that. But there are those that are more focused on the elementary level, about ranking, about different things that are appropriate for the elementary level.
do you also have the counting on? Because
Yes.
5 and it makes sense. I've been instead of spelling it, just like kind of showing it.
Right. And then also being able to show, it's awesome that the different things that they can show you with that. It's really fabulous.
Mathagon. Maybe you've seen it recently show up, or maybe
I like
it came
that.
up by accident. I don't know, but I was wondering if you've played around with it. It's actually really easy to move
Is it on
around.
the
I
tab?
asked the audience if they had any experience with the manipulatives. Would anybody want to chime in on that? I mean, I guess if that's something that you really want.
I think you can go ahead and show it, Dawn. If you click on it, will that work?
Okay, that makes sense. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. So you can make it do whatever. I mean, it has just different activities in it. And for those who, that love to be creative and have activities with their shapes, but, any age
Yes.
level would probably benefit
Yes.
from this.
And also they have algebra in there. They have the different graphs, the different fractions. Yes, there are different applications or different uses within the Mathagon itself. You can
All
see their balance. Yep.
right. Mhm. Dice.
Very cool.
There's a lot of options in here for the manipulatives, digital manipulatives. Okay, cool. And did you have something to explain about this, Laura? Do you want to chime in here?
I mean, just going back to the simple things, sometimes when you're making a PowerPoint and you want to add something that you can morph into and transition into that, more like word problems, you can take part of those word problems and either help with an introduction of a new topic or just having less text that the students are always looking at, because sometimes more words the students get overwhelmed, especially with the elementary school students when you're talking about that. And keeping with their reading level, we have to make sure that we're staying within their reading comprehension. So these are more pictures that move and things that keep their activities and their eyes going, more than just a word problem does. You know, sometimes I think maybe the word problems are, this allows them to be more visual so the students can see how they're figuring out and what they're doing.
I don't know if some of the audience are able to share something that, has worked for them. If we can stop sharing the screen, can we do that? It seems like some people aren't able to see us right now.
Oh, you're saying they can't see us now?
Well, they're saying they can't see us while we're sharing the screen. That's what I'm picking up.
Oh,
I can go
are
back.
we back?
You want to try again? Okay. Oop. Hold on. I have to see.
That's okay. The interpreters just lost for a second. It went to only one person, but we're back.
Yeah, we're back. Yeah, I only could see the interpreter's name for a second there. I was like, what was that? Okay, can we move on? So I think that Desmos is a really great one for critical thinking.
Laura, do you use Desmos? I cannot see Dawn. No, I'm only seeing the interpreters talking.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, that was very odd.
Um, it's okay. No worries. Can I share the screen again? Would be okay with trying that again?
Sure, go for it.
Okay.
That was really odd. Okay.
All right, Laura, but if you don't mind, if you don't have to go into too much detail, but could you explain a little bit about this?
It's hard to be very not detailed with this. It just goes back to different ways that you can use this. It's prepping and making things ready for the students, and it's really high quality. It's ready for the lesson. You can make your own activity with it, and I've been using that more and more recently. And it's also that you can add more features for the students, so they can either type their answers, they can record their answers and then upload them, they can use paper and pen and write it out. What else can I say about it? I mean, there is a lot to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the student can also work through the activities on their own, or it can be teacher led. So we can freeze the screen and have the student analyze what's going on and try to work
Yes,
through the equation. So it's really nice.
yes, and that's the teachers. From the teacher's perspective, you can see their responses very quickly. And it's really nice because sometimes we have pictures that they are drawing or that they're working on, and we have what is called overlay, so that we can see their answers as well as what we're doing so that we can catch if there's something that has been missed or if the students need some assistance, or to see if the students are on track. So sometimes it helps us when we can back up and we can go back to our group work again. And then the teacher's view is to be able to see all of those. It's really a nice feature part of it. And it's great for giving feedback. It's great for interaction. And I would suggest really looking through that one with the activities that are there. I think that the first time you use it with the activities, it will change the way that you teach math. It's just awesome.
I agree. I agree with that statement totally. I don't think, I mean, you don't have to type, you could, like you could just type in a topic for tomorrow, just whatever what's on top of mind, and then just type it in and see what you have and just review some of the resources that are already there. It's very strong. They have strong in-depth critical thinking type resources. I mean, or
Yes.
courses. That way it's not like on the surface or anything. Like they're really getting the kids to analyze, really getting them to think and to understand the concepts behind what you're talking about. So I think that it's a huge benefit. I highly recommend it.
And also, you can search their in Desmos. You can see their activities, or you can search the teacher made ones. And you can type up whatever topic it is that you're looking for, and you can add that into Desmos within the plethora of options that you have. But Desmos, it's more of their what has been improved with them, and then you have the other option of making your own and having that happen. But people really enjoy the activities, and man, are people creative when it comes up to this stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think the students really tend to like Desmos be pretty much all the time. I mean, like even if they're struggling through something and they still can get the concept.
Yes, I think their activities are really a benefit to this. And I think the visual feedback that you get and being able to see if something is wrong or if it's correct or incorrect, and maybe give some tips on helping out so that they get the answer. If they're off a little bit, being able to lead them back to the correct answer.
Laura, is so there's the activities that are in Desmos is K through 12 or
I would say mostly it's middle school, high school. I think there are a few elementary ones, but most people that are making them are doing the elementary themselves, making them, but because there aren't that many out there. But I think it is geared more middle school, high school.
okay, cool. And it's nice to see all of that everybody loves Desmos. So I'm going to save just a tiny bit of time for Q&A. I'm going to move forward. This is just for vocabulary practice. Quizlet is a good study aid. And also, all right, so number talks. Have you had any, luck with any websites? Something that, would help you connect, anything that would help you figure out which one doesn't belong. They give you 4 options and pick which one. It's very visual. There's also, Laura, do you want to go ahead and take this one away?
There are 3 curriculums that are all open and free. My school has the specific math curriculum that we use, and we continue to go to them. And it really helps us finding ideas, having activities. It really helps the students as well, teaching the math, because it's really integrated into it. And so the students are able to work on their own, but the 3 of them that are in the curriculum are great. If there's something else that needs to be added in, it's right there, but they are being used, and I know they're being used often.
And yes, so the illustrative, right? It's in the name, and it is very visual, so it definitely helps.
Yes. And they have the elementary as well this summer. So we will have all 3 of them within our curriculum, as well as using the other one for the elementary. But at this point, yeah, it is the 3 of them. And Twitter.
Twitter. Laura, you got me stuck on Twitter. I don't tell everybody why.
It is the best thing for teachers. Twitter, to be able to send those ideas or get any feedback or ask a question, anything that's happening, you can get 20 or 30 answers within a very short amount of time. And it's really a great crowdsourcing information. So you can talk to each other. And sometimes it's very positive, and sometimes it's just kind of asking for support when you need it. So it's just something, if you haven't been involved in that yet, you really should consider it.
Yeah, Laura definitely convinced me to sign up, and so it's it's really good for professional development and deaf education and math education. It's a mixture. There's a ton of topics that, and it's really nice.
You can
Yeah.
share your lesson plans on there as well, too.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And the Q&A time, sorry, we're running so low on time. We have less than 10 minutes. But that's fine, that, because we just had a lot of discussion. So I say let's go ahead, and audience, if you don't mind, put a couple things in the Q&A, and we'll try to answer them with the time we have left. For Laura and Nancy, if you want to go ahead and take a look and grab a question, go for it. So one of the things about recording the lessons and then reviewing your lesson plans, what I've noticed is that as far as some of my students, their receptive skills aren't quite there. So when we're discussing things, in ASL, I'll tell them like you need to watch, and if I made a video for their math tools, if I put it on YouTube or whatnot, then the students really wouldn't quite understand with the level that they're currently at. And so it's something like, as far as being skilled with writing notes and helping them think about what to do and thinking through the problem. What I've found like the best approach with the teaching through the digital platforms is going to be for me to record things on my own channel and to have like 5 questions, and sometimes more than 5, but just 5 questions, and just and make sure they have enough training and practice in class. So hopefully that'll work if you put those two elements together. But it really depends on what's happening at home, if they have the resources at home to be able to access those materials, and if they can get to your recording list in the first place. I know that in the fall that we made a few things and we put them on there. We're hoping that the students will actually use those resources and go back and watch.
I have tried that in the past, maybe a few years back. I tried the same thing, and I think my students were struggling, as you said, receptively being able to pick it up, and just admitting for myself, trying to sign in to connect with some of the courses, and even when I'm watching something, after a few minutes, I just kind of, I know the disinterest that happens.
We'll keep it short and make sure it's brief, like 5 minutes or less. It's just enough for them to get the point, and be, if you want to develop it through a story, or make it something
Yes.
enjoyable, and then you can watch them build their skills, and then have a chance to try it again in ASL. So it's a little more leading up to that. Wow, this is great. I'm looking at the questions, and there are just like so many. One of the things that I noticed was related to teaching. Something that typically happens is if we had to put in practice for the test. So that whole situation, what's a great way to manage that extra demand to make sure that we're ready for the test? Or also, especially if it's a standardized test in the classroom or standardized, either one. Any ideas?
I don't have a lot of involvement with the test. Maybe I'm a bad person. I don't. But um, we teach, we don't teach directly to the test. We teach as much as we can. So the standardized testing, I'm lucky that my school is not really emphasizing that teaching to the test. So it's very different for us.
I feel like I have the same experience, when I'm working with the kids, and we're not trying to drill them to make sure they get through their state standardized tests. Like we want to make sure the kids are linking their lessons to fun, interactive learning so it sticks. So, that's that. If you can, as you teach, include those things, of course, emphasize those things. Kids are learning every day all the time. So, yes, and I think that either way, like, sometimes they're going to learn it, but sometimes you do have to like intentionally teach it. But and in general, the states, the language that they set up and for the paragraphs, and they make them read a lot, and so it's making sure that they have experience with those things, and making sure that I incorporate that into my teaching on a regular basis, and then they would get the language. They would be ready for that. And it's not like 5 out of 25, or you're just trying to make sure that they get the translation from the wordage to the numbers. And do we have anything else you want to answer, guys?
There's a good question talking about analysis. It said, talking about analysis, it said, how do we make good analysis when we have so many apps? How do we know which ones to use, which ones are the best? And for the students, and how do we analyze the students? How do we evaluate the students fairly? And I think that that's an awesome question. We don't have all the answers, of course, but we try and change it a little bit more for a dialogue, because there's so much time that is being used. Our kids, I think our kids work better with the test being questions asked them to be explained. The theory and what we're talking about, we need to have the high quality testing or questions, and it's not always just one sentence or one definition fits all. We really have to give them the opportunity, everyone the opportunity, the same equal opportunity to be able to work to that level. Sometimes it means sitting down one-on-one with the students and seeing what they know and what they still need to work on.
Yeah, and I've been trying to, really engage my students and kind of explain the practical value of what I'm teaching them, the reasons behind what I'm teaching them, what I'm teaching them in the curriculum. And I'm like, if I, I try to convince them, okay, like you need to be convinced that 4 times 4 is 16. You need to be
Oh,
aware
I
of
like that.
so that they actually connect to it. And so try to make sure there's some warm-ups, there's something in the middle, break up the monotony, and there's something at the end.
I've seen that where they've had made up situations where they have to match up 4 times 4, and then there's less emphasis on the answer as it's more emphasis on the explanation and convincing someone, or coming up with a situational question that goes along with it. Those are the kind of questions that are really good.
Mm-hmm.
And really right now they can research to find answers. They can it's a benefit for them that they can put in their pocket and use later. They can find those answers and then work on it. So it's just as important it was in the past.
Yeah, and I noticed that my students, they have if I have they're trying to figure out if they got the questions and answers right, and they can kind of figure out, they know how to go and find the answer key, and then they can just fill it in. So I have to watch them. They're really smart with this technology. Oh yeah, that for sure. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, Nancy, go for it. I'm sorry. I was just wanting to. I just thought about a feature. If you are using your PowerPoint and on the background you have it formatted where you can point to the right place. Like you can try to practice that. I don't know if you if you're able to set it up, but I mean it's really nice. I've done it before, but if you're sharing the screen and you're clicking on advanced, and then you can put on your PowerPoint, pick the right setting, and then you can possibly point
I
to.
did not know that one.
I mean, if you do, let me know. Yeah, true. Like some people, or I know there's other people out there that have some great tech savvy and they know how to do that. But we have unfortunately run out of time. And so I just want to say thank you again. I'm sorry we could not answer all of your questions. But after this session is finished, of course, we will be sending our PowerPoint to all of the registrants, and and we'll send it again. You've already gotten it before, but we'll send it again just for good measure. And also, we want to get you connected with the apps and websites that we've all been talking about during this session. And pick one, try it, and don't let yourself get overwhelmed. We don't want you to try to be a master at them all, but we don't know which would work for you. And if you have any questions, you definitely can contact us, and we'll try our best to help you out. I would also I wanted to make a list from your ideas in the chat, and I mean in the Q&A, excuse me, and that way nobody has to get overwhelmed. And really a really big thank you to Laura, Nancy. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to let everybody in the audience know that after we close this webinar, we will be planning to send you a survey immediately after. You'll be redirected to that. So it'll pop up if it doesn't come right away. If you're not redirected, it'll also come in an email. We want to make sure that we gauge your feedback, and so please participate if you can. And if you have M.O.B, our M.O.B webinar, we're going to have another one next month. We will have a new topic, of course, and if you have any ideas on what you want to hear about, feel free to send them over. Send us the topics you are interested in. And we think that for the next 3 months, you guys are going to teach your hearts out. So go for it. So thank you so much, Nancy. Oh, go for it, Nancy. Sorry.
Remember to be flexible. Remember, do your best. We're all in this together.
So true. Oh, take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. And thank you again. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. And we're going to go ahead
Thank
and
you,
close this
guys.
webinar, and we'll see you somewhere. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.